Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Sunday. I hope your weekend is going well wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. We are now officially right slap bang in this huge break that Arsenal have with the international break coming up. There was no games this weekend because they weren't in the FA Cup. Feels a long time away now. 2 weeks to the day till that huge game at the Etihad, Manchester City versus Arsenal. Don't know quite what we're going to do to fill our time between now and then. It's going to feel like a marathon getting to that game, but it is what it is. Arsenal having a bit of a break before the international break. The players have been jetting off. As I said yesterday, Bukayo Saka, I think, has been in America. Other players have been around just getting us a little bit of relaxation before linking up with their national teams. And now we're all just going to sit there like this, aren't we, for the next 2 weeks, just hoping and praying that absolutely no one picks up any sort of injury and everyone is fit and healthy for the game against City in 2 weeks' time. Still a fair bit to discuss today. We'll talk about Thierry Henry, who is planning, according to reports, to call up William Saliba for the France Olympics team, which would mean Saliba would miss the start of next season, which doesn't sound very nice, does it? So we'll talk about that. We'll look at what's gone on over the weekend in the football, Premier League, FA Cup. And the FA Cup does have a bearing on what's happening with Arsenal between now and the end of the season. That Coventry versus Wolves game, got some questions and comments from you guys as well. We'll talk about a new signing for Arsenal's academy who made his debut yesterday, who plenty at the club are excited about. So there is still a fair bit to get stuck into, but we'll start with Thierry Henry, shall we? Now, Ryan here from the Mirror has reported that Henry wants to include William Saliba in the France squad for the Paris Olympics, which of course is coming up this summer, a big deal in France. There's been talk about Kylian Mbappe being included in this Olympic squad as well, and some people saying that Mbappe absolutely wants to be included, and that's potentially going to impact Real Madrid signing him. I can't imagine it will, but we'll have to wait and see. But it is a big deal. You know, the likes of Mbappe and Saliba, for them, it would be a chance to represent their country at a home Olympics in Paris. And so it's not just your everyday Olympics tournament for the French team this summer. Now, it remains to be seen whether Saliba actually wants to do this or not. He has been called up to the Olympic squad before in the last time, but he pulled out of that, wasn't involved. But will he be involved this time around? For Arsenal point of view, you would absolutely hope not, because you don't want to miss in any of the start of the season. Not so much just because it might be a couple of games that he's going to miss, but also it's just going to mean he's going to miss pre-season. And pre-season is so important. We've seen that with Arsenal over the last few years, how important it is. You know, Mikel Arteta has been desperate from when he first arrived at the club. Like the first couple of summers were disrupted by COVID and everything like that, and he just didn't get a pre-season. The first time Arsenal had a proper pre-season under Mikel Arteta was last season, and we all saw what happened after that. They came back absolutely on it for the start of the season. Arteta was delighted of how the pre-season went. Did it again this year, and again they were really happy about it. And you know, pre-season is a huge thing for Arteta and his planning to try and get the players all together to hit the ground running for the start of the new Premier League season. If Saliba's not there, that's going to be a big blow to Arteta. So I'm sure there'll be conversations if Henry does come knocking and does want Saliba, which with his Arsenal hat on, you'd hope he'd think not. But I suppose as much as he is an Arsenal man, and we know he is, he's probably thinking he wants players like Saliba because he wants the best possible opportunity of winning gold at the Olympics in Paris. So for him, he probably won't be thinking too much about Arsenal, but you'd think there would be conversations that take place. Saliba's thinking will obviously have to come into it as well. Like last time, he's decided to say no last time. Hopefully he'll do the same, but whether he will with the lure of playing in France, in Paris, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's a worrying one. It's certainly one to keep an eye on. I think between now and the summer, I don't think Arsenal are going to be the only club involved in something like this when it comes to France and the Olympics. So we'll have to see how it all goes. But that's the latest from Ryan. You can read the full story from Ryan down in the description below. The link's there. You just have to give it a click. Right, elsewhere, let's talk about Brayden Clarke then, shall we? Who is a very highly rated young defender, been at Wolves, was a free agent. It decided to leave Wolves. There were lots of clubs in for him. Arsenal won the race. His first academy product signed at sort of under 18 levels for, I think, since Lino Souza, when Arsenal made that move to get him in from West Brom. And I think it probably signals the start of something we're going to see a little bit more over the next few months of Arsenal making some moves in the sort of transfer market when it comes to the academy. Haven't done it for a while, and I think they're certainly going to have to do a little bit of it coming up over the next few months just to refresh things a little bit at academy level. And this is an exciting one. Brayden Clarke is really highly rated, young centre-back, 16 years old, signed a scholarship form. We'll have to wait to his 17th birthday when he'll then sign a professional form with Arsenal. Arsenal are very happy that they've got this deal done. He's an exciting young prospect, made his debut straight away yesterday in a game against Crystal Palace. Only signed during the week. I think he'd had one training session. She got some quotes coming up from Jack Wilshere on that. And so, yeah, Arsenal very happy to sign him. He's a young Welsh youth international, under-17s international. Like I said, he made his debut yesterday in this 8-3 win against Crystal Palace for the under-18s. It was quite a strong under-18s team because the under-21s game was postponed. And so some of the Jack Wilshere was able to bring in some of the under-21s who were going to be without a game. So it's a strong team and actually demolished Crystal Palace. And Clarke made his debut at centre-back in that game. So what Jack Wilshere had to say after it, said, talk about personality and courage to play. The first time he trained with us was on Thursday. He trained yesterday and played today for 90 minutes. We weren't sure if he'd get through the games. So I asked him around 60 minutes how he was. And he said, yeah, I'm fine. The way he understood our style after just 2 days is credit to him. He's very good technically, can manage the ball, look after the ball. And I thought against Palace, we've got to defend direct play. And he did that really, really well. So decent debut for Brayden Clarke there. And once again, Chido Obi-Martin stealing or making the headlines as he's done so far on a few occasions this season. Obviously, he scored those 10 goals in that unbelievable win for the under-16s against Liverpool earlier on in the season. He's got another 4 to his name yesterday for the under-18s, just 15. Is Obi-Martin, absolute physical specimen, huge he is. You look at him and think, how are you 15 years old? Seriously. You watched some of his goals yesterday, especially the second one, I think it was, when he just brushed the defender off and left the defender on the turf on the ground. Was quite impressive. I always think, though, when you're watching these young, really sort of physical young kids in youth football, you have to just take a step back from being too excited because physically they're so on another level compared to some of the players that they're playing against that it almost looks a bit too easy for them. I think of, J. Emmanuel Thomas. Do you remember him at Arsenal? He's just an absolute animal at youth level. Unbelievable what he used to do, the goals he used to score, how physically imposing he was. He was in that famous team that won the Youth Cup with Jack Wilshere when he came through. And he went on to have a decent enough career, J. Emmanuel Thomas. But once everyone else sort of caught up with him a bit more physically, that sort of, the extra power he had over everyone, it just went away, and suddenly he was just another player rather than this huge guy who would brush everyone off. So when I see people like Obi-Martin, the way he's playing and what he's doing to some of the defenders, I always have to think you have to wait. You can't get too excited about these kids. They're so young. There's so much to do for them to go on and achieve, and for everyone else to catch up physically with them, that you've got to take a step back. But still, it's an impressive feat what he's doing, and the goals he's scoring. Another 4 yesterday in that 8-3 win. Jack Wilshere said, I'm so proud of the team because for a striker to score 4, he needs his teammates, he needs his midfielders and defenders, but it's the hardest thing in football, and to do it 4 times as an under-16 at under-18s level takes some real personality. Not just that side of his game, the link-up play, the way he pressed and set the tempo for us, he's developing nicely. There are still things to do and get better at, but I'm happy with where he is at the moment. The finishes were nice. One of them was a penalty, good penalty actually, high into the roof of the net. The other finishes were good, really calm, sort of side-footed finishes. Certainly shows a player who's got a very, very keen eye for goal, as his records suggest so far this season. And he's certainly another one of the youth team players who Arsenal are very excited about, and everyone's keeping an eye on to see how they progress over the next couple of years. But yeah, good day for the under-18s, good day for Brayden Clarke and his debut, and certainly a very good day for Jack Wilshere and Chido Obi-Martin. Elsewhere, sort of some tidbits to catch up on as we head towards Monday. Harry Kane, of course, with that huge Champions League game coming up, scored once again for Bayern Munich yesterday, set another record with his goal scoring. Unbelievable what he's doing there, what season he's having, even if Bayern aren't going to go on and win the league. But he's hurt himself. He's got a bit of an ankle injury. All Arsenal fans suddenly take a deep breath. Could he miss the Arsenal game? Look, it's very, very doubtful. We'll have to wait and see. Thomas Tuchel's been speaking about it. He collided with the post. It was interesting. It was I can't remember who it was. I think it was Musiala tried a lob and it sort of hit the frame of the goal and came down. And Kane was coming in at the back post to try and turn it in on the rebound. He missed the ball, but he went clattering into the post and hurt his ankle at the time. And Tuchel says he twisted his ankle in the goal netting. He's been applying ice to it since. We don't have any news yet. We'll have to wait and see and hope that it's nothing major. Now, of course, Kane is going to be linking up with England now after this Bayern game. Remains to be seen whether he is going to be fit for the international break, whether he stays in Germany. We'll have to wait and see. I think news is going to filter out very, very quickly about this because the England press pack are going to be determined to find out exactly what's going on with Harry Kane. I imagine England will want to take a look at him. We've seen with Arsenal in the past Did it with Bukayo Saka, didn't they, when he had an injury and they still called him over to St George's Park to assess him themselves. They're probably going to do that with Harry Kane and then make a decision. Kane might even want to, even if he's not going to play, might want to hang around the squad anyway as he is captain. So we'll have to wait and see. But whether this has any sort of impact on the games against Arsenal, who knows? But certainly one to keep an eye on. There was a bit of Premier League action yesterday, only a few games, enough Premier League action to make us be able to laugh at Spurs, which is always good. Absolutely hammered at Fulham yesterday, losing 3-0 on the back of that really impressive 4-0 win for Spurs against Aston Villa, which really opened up the top four race and gave them, almost looked like it had put them in the driving seat almost, but they had the chance to move into the top four yesterday and they didn't take it. Absolutely punished by Fulham. They've got such a good record against the sort of so-called big six this year. Obviously took 4 points off Arsenal, beaten Spurs comfortably here, went to Old Trafford and won. So they've got a decent record against the bigger sides, Fulham, this year. They're a difficult side to play against. Muniz, obviously, in an absolute brilliant form. I'm taking credit for this because I put Son into my team yesterday, my FPL team. I only got like 3 players playing this weekend. So I transferred Son in for De Bruyne just for 1 game only and made him captain. And a big part of me doing that was because I was hoping my captain's curse was going to work and he was going to have a nightmare and Tottenham were going to have a nightmare and I could laugh at it. And it worked. So I've got Muniz as well. And I didn't make him captain because I didn't want to curse him. And I can make Son captain instead. So I'm taking full credit for Fulham's win here because my captain's curse or my FPL curse I used against Spurs this weekend. So 3 points coming my way rather than Fulham's. Elsewhere, the FA Cup game yesterday, absolutely brilliant. This was the magic of the FA Cup, all that cliche, but it really was. What an unbelievable game this was. Wolves versus Coventry. Coventry winning 3-2 in a game that they 1-0 up at him for a long time. Then Wolves scored twice in the last 10 minutes. Looked like they'd gone through, and then Coventry equalised in the 97th minute and then won it in the 99th minute. Unbelievable scenes at Molineux for Coventry in the Championship side, who are now into the FA Cup semi-finals. And that is a big thing, as Charlie J points out here. Says low-key that Coventry win yesterday was a big result for us. Would have been a nightmare to have both Chelsea and Wolves matches postponed because of the FA Cup. And he's right. You see that Wolves game there on the fixture list if you're watching on YouTube on Saturday, April the 20th. That is FA Cup semi-final weekend. Had Wolves won yesterday and gone through, then that game would have been postponed and Arsenal would have been having to try and squeeze in another match along with the Chelsea game that's not even in that fixture list. It looks like Chelsea's probably going to be squeezed in ahead of that Spurs game, so after the Wolves game. So that's going to be a really difficult week for Arsenal with Wolves, Chelsea and Tottenham in the space of 7 days. But it's probably better than trying to squeeze it into a midweek game, probably after the Man United match. I would imagine you'd rather still keep that as it is. So I think it is a good result for Arsenal. It's certainly one that popped into my mind as soon as I saw that Coventry won, and I'm pretty sure that Mikel Arteta will be pretty happy about it as well, because it just adds to the sort of lessens the fixture congestion right at that business end of the season. So congratulations to Coventry, huge win for them. And Coventry in the semi-finals. What a brilliant job Mark Robbins is doing there. Xavier here has got in touch and says, "Hi Charles, great content as usual. Question for you. If we had one more win over City until the rest of the season, which one would you pick in the league or in the Champions League semi-final brackets? Assuming we overcome Bayern, of course." This is a really tough one, and I'm probably going to annoy a lot of people with my answer, but it would be the league. I have to say, look, I know Arsenal haven't won the Champions League, and it's all of our dreams to see Arsenal win the Champions League. And, I was there in Paris in 2006 and just suffered the ultimate heartbreak of what happened there against Barcelona. But I want the Premier League so, so much. And if you gave me a choice right now for this season, choose one or the other, I'd choose the Premier League. Champions League's amazing. And like I said, we haven't won it. But it is a cup competition at the end of the day. I don't think the Champions League means you're the best of the best if you win it. I really, really don't. I think if you win the Premier League, you are the best of the best. I really think you do. I think the consistency to win the Premier League, to overcome Manchester City, to overcome Liverpool, it just takes more than winning the Champions League. I don't think winning the Champions League proves that you are the best team in Europe. I think you've just won a cup competition. Yes, you've beaten some top teams, but if you win the Premier League, I just think that means you're the best team in Europe at the moment. I do 100%. And it's been 20 years, and I just want to see Arsenal win that Premier League trophy again. So I would choose winning at the Etihad on the 31st over beating them in the Champions League. But I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me on that. And if you do, let me know in the comments below. And let me know in the comments below anything you've heard me discuss in this video or anything you want me to discuss tomorrow. As always, do let me know in the comments below. Right, here's one from Teta98 to round things off. Says, hi, Charles. April will be a massive month and rotation will be key. Do you think Timber will be fit for Luton? Do you think a team of Raya, Tomiyasu, Saliba, Gabriel Zinchenko, Partey, ESR, Vieira, Saka, Jesus, and Trossard is capable of winning a game like that? I mean, yes, 100%. I mean, it's a strong team. Look at it. It's a really strong team. You know, I think Luton are a good team, but Arsenal at home with that 11 should be beating Luton. No doubt about it. 100%. I think it's a really strong team. And I think Arsenal have got the tools now to be able to rotate between now and the end of the season, providing, of course, fingers crossed, everyone comes back from the international break fully fit. You know, this is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting for pretty much everyone to be fit. I don't know if Timber will be fit for Luton. It's impossible for me to say that. It's going to be I can't imagine so, unless he gets a couple of under 21s games before that. You don't just suddenly throw him into that. The under 21s game was cancelled this weekend. I was kind of interested looking at that, if Timber was going to be involved in it at all. I'm not sure when it's been rescheduled for, when the next game is. I haven't looked, but I think he'll probably play in the 21s before he plays for the first team. So I'd be doubtful if Timber's going to be involved in that one, but rotation is going to be key, no doubt about it. I mean, we touched on it. If you're watching YouTube, you can go back to the fixture list here. You look in the games in April. You know, if you include Man City in that on the 31st of March, you got Man City, Luton, Brighton, Bayern, Villa, Bayern, Wolves, Spurs, all in April. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games in the space of a month. There, it's huge. It's where the season's going to be defined, no doubt about it. And so it is going to be a massive month, 100%. And I do think Arsenal have the squad to be able to cope with it. Arteta's going to have to use that squad, and that's something we've all worried a bit when it comes to Arteta. Does he use it enough? Does he give players enough time to rest? I think he's got better at it as the season's progressed, but he's still going to have to be bang on it over this next eight game period, this next month, to ensure the players are not absolutely flogged into the ground and running on fumes by the time May rolls around. But thank you very much for getting in touch, Teta98. Appreciate all of you getting in touch. And that's it for today. It's a horrible day out there here in the UK. Gloomy, wet so far, grey, as you can probably tell by the lighting. It's not great. But I hope you do enjoy the rest of your weekend wherever you are. And I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Until then, bye, everyone.